The Orlando Magic may not be at rock bottom, but you certainly hope it is. A disappointing loss to the Memphis Grizzlies that only heightens the intensity of this playoff chase. We'll get into the thick of it on today's episode of Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 27th, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, how alarmed should you be by the Orlando Magic's loss to the Memphis Grizzlies? What does it say about the team's present, about the team's future? Or does this team just need to figure it out? We're going to get to all of that in an existential crisis edition of Locked On Magic. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The place we should start is at the end. That's always where you start with these close games, because regardless of what we're about to talk about, and the issues we were talking about today are issues we would talk about even if the Magic did somehow pull this game out. But let's start here. Paolo Banchero nearly saved the Orlando Magic. Paolo Banchero nearly helped this Magic team pull this game from the jaws of defeat. And that deserves recognition. He scored 12 of his 27 points in the fourth quarter. With the Magic down by 5, he made several big plays and big shots to get the Magic back into the game, to put them in a position to win. He missed some critical shots too, including a free throw, including a dunk, including 2 3-pointers on one possession. There's a lot to clean up, but the Magic are not anywhere near this game without Paolo Banchero. And in fact, while a good chunk of my time after the game was spent trying to just tell people like, yeah, you'd love Paolo to take that last shot, but he made the absolute right read feeding Joe Ingles for the potential game-winning 3. And if Joe Ingles hits that 3, this segment is devoted to why Paolo Banchero is clutch again. This segment is devoted to why Paolo Banchero is just the redeeming quality. And again, whether you win or lose, all these issues are present. Paolo Banchero is really, really good. He played a bad third quarter. He had foul trouble in the first half, still came through and nearly helped this Magic team win. It's that actually that deserves a little bit more conversation, because this Magic team was good enough to win and defeat a very undermanned Memphis Grizzlies team. Again, as always, give all credit to the Memphis Grizzlies. They played so hard. They played so physical. They were the aggressors from the beginning. They took it to the Magic. The Magic were playing uphill the entire way, and they may not have been good enough to hold on to an 11-point lead. They may not have been good enough to figure out a really tough Magic defense in the second half. They may not have been good enough to put the Magic away, but the Magic on this night were not good enough to win the game. And that is part of the problem. We can clearly see the Magic are good enough to win games like this one from Friday night. The Grizzlies won 107-106. Scores on the rundown if you're watching on YouTube. Grizzlies won 107-106. Joe Ingles missed a game-winning 3-pointer at the buzzer. Wide open shot. I'm not complaining about the shot. I'm not complaining about the decision Paolo made to pass it. It was the right decision. It was the right shot. Joe Ingles is a 41% 3-point shooter. Yes, he was sitting on the bench for 20 minutes of real time before taking that said shot, but that's a shot the Magic won. If you're upset about Joe Ingles taking a wide open 3, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But for the Magic to get themselves in that position, to play the kind of defense they had to play, to get into that position, to do all that just shows us how good this Magic team can be. And it shows us that the Magic did not play that way this entire game. Look, the Magic should have won this game. This is a game you expect to win. When we looked at the 7 games leading into the All-Star break, after this little break that the Magic had through the middle of the week, we said Memphis is a win. That is a game the Magic should win, just like Detroit and San Antonio are wins. That gives you 3 of those 7, and then you just got to steal one more. And maybe if you're 4-3, everything calms down heading into the trade deadline. You say, okay, the Magic are starting to figure it out. They're starting to right the ship. They're starting to pick up ground again. We can relax a little bit. Maybe we don't need to make drastic changes. This kind of loss is the kind of loss that makes you rethink that. And again, I want to give the Memphis Grizzlies credit. They were the better team. But these are the kind of losses where after 2 days of practice and 3 days off, the Magic's defense looked slow, looked a step slow all night long. They were not able to execute their defensive strategy. And look, they figured it out in the second half. But as Paolo Banchero said after the game, they turned it up too late. The fact that they understood they turned it up too late tells me they could have turned it up earlier and executed better and been more focused. They played like a team that sleptwalked through the game, that felt like they could show up and win. Well, guess what? This is the NBA. You know you can't do that. And it's human nature. And the Magic talked about it and we're trying to guard against it. It's human nature. It happens. But that's what they did. And again, we can see this team, despite doing that, was still good enough to win. Still had the ability to win the game. But too many times they missed opportunities. Another 8 missed free throws, 21 for 29 from the foul line. Some more poor three-point decisions. 5 of their 11 turnovers in the third quarter with a chance to take control of the game. Giving up 12 three-pointers in the first half. Losing track of Luke Kennard on several occasions. Getting out-muscled and outworked in the paint. With Jaren Jackson Jr. just pushing and shoving Wendell Carter around. And look, Wendell was trying. Jaren's a big dude. But these are all bigger issues. These are all ultimately bigger questions for the Magic to answer. So is this an alarming loss? Is this loss a wake-up call? The answer to that question is yes. It is a wake-up call that this team has to be better. After starting the season 14-5, Orlando is now 9-17. 9-17 over their last 26 games. That's more than a quarter of the season. 9-17 is a 28-win pace for an 82-game season. I'm sorry. This is not a 28-win team, or at least they shouldn't be. I'm not saying that they're a 14-5 team. 14-5 is, let me math real fast. 14-5 is a 60-win team. This is not a 60-win team either. But they've been playing the last quarter plus of the season at a 28-win pace. That's not going to get the job done. And again, this game can be symbolic of the bigger picture of the season. We can see how good this team's defense can be. We can see how good Paolo Banchero can be. We can understand conceptually that this team is better than their record. And yet they're not executing and playing like it. And that raises a whole host of new questions. That raises a whole host of new issues to figure out. Because in many ways, this game is symbolic and exemplary of all the big issues that we're talking about with this group and that we're trying to figure out with this group as that trade deadline approaches. The message from the Orlando Magic was to stick together and figure it out. But undoubtedly, as we look at this game, there are issues that the Magic probably can only solve externally. We're going to go bit by bit through what went wrong for the Orlando Magic and the loss of the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's the first ever national sports streaming channel on YouTube. You can find the latest from local experts like me, as well as our national shows covering all the big stories in sports. Check it out today, Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. I will admit that I'm going to be a tick late on this. I criticize Jamal Mosley sometimes for being a tick late on adjustments. And I'm not someone that's going to rush to judgment. I will admit that. That is part of who I am. That's part of the way I approach these things. I'm not someone that's going to overreact to one bad loss, one bad game. There are 82 of these things. You're going to have a few stinkers. And sometimes those stinkers will come in games like this. It happens. I would say the Magic did have a stinker, but coming off of Monday's loss, certainly extremely disappointing that this is the way that the Magic played. And again, we know they can play a whole lot better. That is the driving point here. We know this team is not living up to its potential. And again, not a 14-5 potential, but we know that this team is better than a 500 team. They are a 43, 44, maybe 45 win team. And right now they're playing like a 30-win team. And that is plainly unacceptable. The question, and so I've come around on this as we've watched this team develop, as we've watched this team come together as a group today. This team is probably going as far as they're going to go this year. Yes, Paolo Banchero will get better. Franz Wagner will get better. Players will get better. But if this Magic team ends up in the 7-8 game, I find it hard to believe that this group, as currently constructed, is ever going to do more than be in the 7-8 game. And again, y'all may have made that conclusion sooner. You may be saying, Philip, I've been saying that for weeks. Why are you just coming to this? I'll admit to being late. I want some more data. I want to give these guys a chance. I am a big believer that you should give these guys a chance. That's that these players have earned that opportunity. And I will say this again. I know I wrote this on my Patreon page. I will say it to you here. These 7 games, including Friday night, leading into the All-Star break, are the 7 most important games, or heading into the trade deadline, are the 7 most important games of the season. The Magic are going to determine whether they're going to stick with this group or move on over the course of these next 7 games. And frankly, Friday's game may have pushed some conclusion. I don't know if it single-handedly pushes conclusions sooner, but Friday's game exemplified all the ways this Magic team is deficient and why what they need isn't on the roster. Look, Jonathan Isaac, the Magic talked about this after the game, and Jonathan Isaac and Paolo Banchero all said the right things. They're not concerned with what they don't have. They can only be worried with the players that they do have. And I do run into this comment a lot where they're saying, where someone tells me the Magic got to get some shooting, the Magic got to get some shooting. I'll be like, I don't disagree, but I will say this too. This team has shown us that they can win without shooting. They can be a bad shooting team and still win. It's harder. It makes you a little bit more one-dimensional. It makes you susceptible to bad nights like this one. And the Magic, I think I counted. The Magic now had 14 games where they shot less than 30% from 3. I have no clue what that ranks the rest of the league, but we all know what the Magic's biggest weakness is. And if the Magic could make a darn 3-pointer, they win this game. And we could say that about a lot of games. The 2 for 28 performance against Cleveland back in December. There are a lot of these games, and look, you follow me on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. I'm going to look it up probably first thing in the morning. I'm going to look at NBA.com's tracking stats, and I will probably tell you that something like 30 of the Magic's 34 3-pointers in this game, the closest defender was 4 more feet away. The quality of the Magic shots aren't the problem. Orlando shot 9 for 34 from 3, by the way. Paolo Banchero was 2 for 9. I did not love his shot selection on a lot of those threes, just kind of rushing threes. He had 2 really bad misses with the Magic down by 2 with about 2:30 to play. Again, missed opportunities, but Cole Anthony was 0 for 4. Joe Ingles was 0 for 4. Those are reliable 3-point shooters that miss shots. Again, you can live with making or missing shots sometimes. But this is a repeated problem. And undoubtedly, it's a problem that's increasingly difficult to overcome. If the Magic work really hard to make up this ground. Again, Memphis made 12 of their 15 three-pointers. 12 of their 15 makes came in the first half. They were 15 for 41 for the game. That's 36.6%. They had a 6 three-pointer advantage. That's 6 three-pointers, 18 points. Orlando made up 13 of those points at the foul line. Orlando makes up for their lack of three-point shooting by getting to the foul line, which they did in this game. They were 21 of 29 from the foul line. Again, you miss 8 free throws in a 1-point game, including 2 down the stretch. That stuff kills you. Orlando got outscored in the paint 50-48. That is usually a huge weakness for Orlando. Not only getting 38 field goal attempts in the paint, instead of scoring their usual 50 to 50, instead of scoring like 55, which is their average is around 52, 53. The Magic are, what I'm trying to get at here is the Magic are constantly working uphill. And honestly, like, that's the thing I'm tired of. That's the thing I'm tired of saying, because if the Magic were a normal team, if the Magic were a normal shooting team, I'm not even saying an exemplary shooting team, if they shoot 33%, if they shoot 33%, that's 11 threes. They make 2 more threes in a 1-point game, they win. 11 threes when you're giving up 15, and this was a bad three-point shooting defense night for the Magic, you're winning those games. That's not just 33%. That's below average. We're not even asking for a lot. This team needs shooting. And the fact that they had to bring Joe Ingles cold off the bench to just give them a little bit of spacing to make the defense think that they might make a three, that's the hard part. So again, like, the Magic have enough to solve this problem. If the Magic don't make a move at the trade deadline, they have enough to keep themselves afloat this season. Again, we know they're better than this. But unfortunately, for the last quarter plus of the season, they haven't played better than this. And yeah, injuries are a big factor in that, but the offense continues to just be horrendously bad. And even though the Magic have one of the best defenses in the league and played great defense in this game, giving up only 39 points in the second half, they give up 37 in the second quarter. They give up 39 the rest of the game. The Magic put themselves in a position to win. Their defense did everything humanly possible to win this game. And once again, the offense dropped the ball. Once again, the Magic couldn't make shots. They couldn't make good decisions. And a lot of that is, you watch some of the turnovers the Magic had in that third quarter. Some of it was just over-eagerness. Some of it is just youth. But this team lacks poise. And so, again, these are the big weaknesses. Shooting, first and foremost. But there's a reason why we talked Malcolm Brogdon and Tyus Jones to start our trade deadline tour. There's a reason why, like, DeJounte Murray is on my list next. There's a reason why we're going through these veteran point guards. People pitch to Dennis Schroeder. There's a lot of point. The Magic needs some veteran poise. And yeah, a guy in the starting lineup who can hit a shot from the guard spot that can at least get the defense's respect. Again, the defender came off of Joe Ingles, even though Joe Ingles is a 41% three-point shooter. Again, stopping Paolo is the right move, but you're just not making them pay for these decisions. And even then, teams aren't scared of the Magic's good shooters making threes. So yes, the Magic need to stick together. They can't let this loss or the Cleveland loss snowball and make things worse. But honestly, the thing is, it's already worse. The thing is, the Magic are already playing at a level they should not be playing at. They should have graduated from this level already. You're 500, whatever. You're playing at a 35 win pace for a quarter of the season, whatever. That keeps you in the game. The Magic are 9-17 over the last 26 games. That might have made us happy 2 years ago when we were still in a rebuild mode. You're losing one game for every three that you're winning one game for every 3 that you play. That's fun when you're just starting to rebuild. But this is a playoff team. And so the Magic have to start figuring that part out. The Magic have to start playing up to their potential. We know what they need. And look, Markelle Fultz, I thought, had a really nice game. We'll get to the box score here in a minute. But down the stretch, the Magic were running Anthony Black. And you could tell the Magic lacked experience. They lacked poise to get the best shots, to make the right plays. And Paolo Banchero is brilliant. Like, he is doing stuff in spite of this. But I think I'll be late. I'll be last on this train. The things that will solve the Magic's problems are external. And a game like this just crystallizes that more. Yes, this team needs to stick together. Yes, they need to find a way. Yes, they have enough. But I think we all know, and I think we can all conclude, this group can only go so far. And we might be bumping up against that ceiling right now. We'll go through the box score, update you on the playoff standings and situation. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. So, again, I want to stress this. Like, this was a game of missed opportunities. The Magic are good enough to win this game. They should have won this game. Again, no offense to Memphis. Listen to Locked On Grizzlies. I'm sure they're celebrating a really nice win for them. Their guys played harder. They were first to every loose ball. They were draining threes. The Magic couldn't figure them out for a half. And even then, the Magic were still in the game. It wasn't like the Magic were blown out of this thing and they had to scramble to get back in. But the Magic put themselves in the hole as much as Memphis put them in. And again, Memphis has to take it. You have to take advantage of opportunities, yada, 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 yada. I don't want to take anything away from Memphis, but the Magic lost this game. Like, the Magic had enough to win this game and they didn't. And right now, like, so much of what we're talking about are missed opportunities. It was a stretch of, it's 5 turnovers. They didn't lead to any Memphis points, but they're missed opportunities that the Magic could have used to take the lead, build some momentum, get a fast break. A lot of them came on fast breaks where the Magic just threw the ball around and missed even opportunities to get a shot. It's missing open threes and building that momentum and confidence that you need. It's the missed free throws, 21 of 29 from the foul line. Look, 29 free throws is exactly what the Magic need to do. You're making 2 more of those. If you're 24 of 29, you're 25 of 29. You're not going to make all your free throws, obviously. You're 25 of 29. You're only missing 4. You win this game. You're not even playing from behind. Your defense can get the job done if you make your free throws. And it's missed opportunities now in the standings. Look, the Magic are losing a lot of games right now. They're still gaining ground in the standings. Like Indiana's starting to run away from them a little bit. Big win for the Pacers tonight against the Suns. But the Magic had an opportunity to tie the Heat for 7th. And they'll get that opportunity again next Tuesday, probably, when they head to Miami. Miami is really struggling right now. The Magic need to tie that season series to give them a chance to host that 7-8 game. But the Magic had an opportunity to tie Miami tonight. They didn't. Their game back of Miami, 2.5 back of Indiana for 6, 2.5 ahead of Chicago in 8th. The Magic have slipped considerably down the standings. And we all banked on the schedule getting easier. And a game like Memphis is the schedule getting easier. And they didn't get the job done. At the end of the day, they still got to get the job done. And right now, it's a struggle to get there. Plain and simple. It is a struggle for this team to get where it needs to be, to get where it wants to go. And that's why, honestly, like, a loss like this increases the urgency. Again, I will, you're probably sitting there saying, like, Phil, I've been saying the Magic need to make a trade. I've been, hovering on that. A loss like this makes you feel the urgency and the need to make a trade. To say what we have is not enough, even for what we want to accomplish this year, as small as that might be. And we might have to do something more immediately to get us back on the right track. The Magic only have 6 games left to show Jeff Weltman and company that they can get back on the right track. And look, we're all sitting here saying they need shooting. We know that. they probably need a more long-term option and a shooter at point guard. This game proved that in a lot of ways as the Magic looked disorganized and looked just really off at the point of attack defensively. They didn't get good shots all the time. They got rushed. They took rush shots. They took bad shots. The ball didn't get, Paolo is essentially the point guard, so the ball's always in his hands. But sometimes you need on an offensive rebound, a guard to say, hey, stop, get a shot. Don't just jack up the first thing that you get. Magic needed that. They needed that calm and that poise, and they're missing that. If we could see all this, management can see all this. And that's why it very much feels like as these losses pile up, as the Magic continue to struggle to find their footing, to find that groove, to find that vibe again, that this team I don't want to say this team peaked in November. I think they will get better. I think they will figure some things out, but this team is struggling to overcome its deficiencies more and more. And the energy and the vibe of the early part of the season is gone. We are in the grind. We are in the random Friday in January when you got to find your energy. And this team is finding it difficult to find that energy over and over again. Let's go through the box score, though. Paolo Banchero, another fantastic game. He scored 27 points, scored 12 of his 27 in the fourth quarter, ended up 8 for 20 from the floor, 2 for 9 from 3. That makes him 6 for 11 on twos, which is really nice. 9 for 11 at the foul line. Again, missed a big free throw late, but 9 for 11 from the foul line will get the job done. 5 rebounds, 6 assists, did have 3 turnovers. The Magic are not in this game without Paolo Banchero. He kind of skated through the second. He was in foul trouble in the second quarter. Didn't play a lot. That allowed Memphis to take the lead. He didn't really play great in the third quarter. And that kind of, the Magic eventually picked up their pace and got back into the game. But that prevented the Magic, I think, from getting ahead. Paolo is carrying this team, and you could see him start to get himself going in that fourth quarter. He carried the team through the fourth quarter. I do think Paolo Banchero will be named an all-star on Thursday. The Magic's record is going to be the thing that hurts him. And if he ends up not being an all-star, it's going to be on the team. It's not going to be on Paolo. He's doing everything he can. It's going to be on this team for not stepping up to the plate and picking up wins when they need to pick up wins. Again, voting, the Magic will play their last game before votes are turned in, probably Monday in Dallas. They do play Wednesday at San Antonio. Paolo's made his case and made his statement. The team may be the thing that prevents him from making it, but he is playing at an all-star level. That much should be perfectly clear. Franz Wagner had a decent game, 18 points, 6 for 15 shooting, 4 for 8 from 3, 2 for 3 from the foul line, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, did have 5 turnovers. Franz, I thought, got into a good rhythm from 3, although he still missed a few shots. It still just looks like he's working his legs back into rhythm, again. And I think one of the things we do have to keep in mind is these guys are not automatons. It does take a little bit coming back from injury to get kind of fully back into the swing of things. There are, the Magic are trying to keep playing groups intact. They're trying to keep their players together. It still takes a little while for lineups to figure themselves out. As good as that Miami game looked, I do think one of the things, and again, the Magic still should have won this game. I'm not excusing the loss, but it does still feel like the Magic are kind of getting their feel back together as a group right now. And that explains some of the inconsistency for this team. I think Franz is still getting his legs under him. So hopefully that comes sooner than later. But again, still did decent to get his numbers. Wendell Carter, a solid game offensively, 20 points, 8 for 9 shooting, 2 for 3 from deep, 9 rebounds for him, 2 block shots. Just Wendell Carter's versatility offensively is why he's the starter. As much as people love Goga Bitadze, like Mo Wagner, Wendell Carter's versatility is why he's starting. He is usually a good defender, but this was a particularly bad defensive game for him. Jaren Jackson Jr. scored 30 points, 13 for 30 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3, 3 for 4 from the foul line, 8 rebounds for Jaren Jackson Jr. There were just a lot of possessions where Jaren Jackson Jr. got the ball in maybe the mid post, did a big hard dribble move and just pushed Wendell Carter off of his spot, just bumped him out of his spot. And Wendell Carter just really struggled with Jaren Jackson Jr.'s size. It wasn't that Wendell Carter, Wendell Carter didn't necessarily play bad defense. He just got out-muscled. Wendell got his shots in. He adjusted. He made some better plays in the second half. But the Magic really struggled to handle Jaren Jackson Jr. because Jaren Jackson Jr. made quick moves, physical, aggressive moves that just dislodged Wendell Carter and took him out of his spot. So a rough game on that front for Wendell, but he did make up for a lot of it on the offensive end, and that part is impressive. His versatility offensively is just so valuable for this team. Markelle Fultz had 10 points, 5 for 7 shooting, 3 assists in 21 minutes. I thought he played really, really well, did a good job getting downhill, did a good job getting into pockets. He found ways to score. Obviously, still not a stretch beyond, still obviously not really a threat beyond layups. His real problem, though, was his defense. Fultz really struggled at the point of attack. He lost Luke Kennard on several occasions in the second quarter. If you look at the second quarter box score, Fultz was -4. He really struggled kind of tracking Luke Kennard, and Memphis wasn't running a traditional point guard that like Kennard and John Contra were the point guards. Kennard was 5 for 10 from 3. Fultz really struggled at same deal as against Cleveland, just struggled to keep his man in front of him and navigate screens. That's not all Fultz's fault. The defensive communication in the first half was just god awful. Again, just not the level of detail that you need. Like so much of what the Magic's problems are details. It's being at the level of screen. It's being locked in and on a string defensively, which again, the Magic found in the second half. Like they got a huge 24-second shot clock violation that gave them the ball and a chance to win with 4.8 seconds left. Just beautiful, beautiful defense. One of the best defensive possessions of the season. Their defense stepped up late in this game. But again, they were put in that position because the defense didn't step up early in the game. You got to do your work early, just like the post play. You got to do your work early. So a mixed bag for Markelle. His offense does seem to be coming a little bit easier now. Just got to get that defense back because that's one of the things that he's really valuable at for this team. The bad news: Jalen Suggs only played 4.5 minutes in this game. Missed both of his shots. He ended up banging knees in the first quarter, left with what is being described as a bruised knee. That was a big absence in this game. Not going to lie. His defense was certainly missed. His energy was certainly missed as well. But again, Magic still should have won the game without him. Hopefully Suggs is back Sunday against the Suns. Off the bench, Mo Wagner scored 12 points. Jonathan Isaac, 10 points, played 22:09, finished the game for the Magic, deserved to finish the game. Got some good defensive possessions on Jaren Jackson Jr. In the fourth quarter. Did not get credited with a block, which does not seem right. I think he definitely had one, but Isaac had one of his better, more active games. I was definitely for closing with Franz at the 2. I didn't like necessarily playing Anthony Black at that spot. Anthony Black missed all 3 of his shots, only scored 2 points, had 5 fouls, and 2 of those fouls were just really cheap reach-ins that were not smart. But the Magic went for defense in those closing moments, and that's what they got, and they didn't score enough, obviously, to win the game. Cole Anthony, 5.7 rebounds, 4 assists, did shoot just 2 for 8 from the floor, and again, 0 for 4 from deep. Orlando shoots 46.9% from the floor, 9 for 34 from beyond the arc, 21 for 29 from the foul line. They only have 11 turnovers, but again, 5 of them coming in the third quarter when the Magic had an opportunity to take the lead, kind of start building some momentum, just momentum killing plays. Again, so much of this game is just missed opportunities. The Magic had lots of opportunities to take control of this game. The Magic fought, they grinded, they took some big punches from Memphis. Memphis was not a team that was going to knock them out. Like that, again, no offense to Memphis. This just isn't a team that was going to knock them out. They got some really big performances. Like I said, Jaren Jackson Jr., 30 points, Luke Kennard, 15 points. Zaire Williams off the bench, 7 for 10 shooting, 17 points, 3 for 6 from 3. They got some really good things. They had 30 assists in the game. Memphis was really dangerous and really made the Magic pay in a lot of ways for their lax defense, but they were never a team that was going to completely knock this Magic team out. They let Orlando hang around. Orlando took advantage of that opportunity and again, just came one shot short. Just from the Magic perspective, we know this Magic team can play better to where they don't need to wait for Memphis to let them hang around. This is a game the Magic needed to take, and the Magic didn't take it. And that's ultimately, I think, the bigger concern for this team and the bigger concern as we get closer to the trade deadline to say, what do the Magic need? This is a game that makes you question a lot of those things because Orlando could and should play better. This isn't just an issue of making or missing shots. If it were just that, and it was like, oh, Memphis had a nice shooting night, and look, Zaire Williams made some tough threes, and Memphis made some tough threes. But if it was just a night where, well, Memphis made some shots, it is what it is. that would be one thing. And Orlando missed some shots. That would be one thing. This was an issue of Orlando was not aggressive. Orlando did not get downhill. Orlando did not play their style of basketball on offense. And defensively, they were not sharp and they were not tight. And that is a huge issue for this team, especially coming off of 2 days of practice when we expected this team to come out a little bit sharper defensively. Giving up 31 points in the first quarter after having 2 days off or having 3 days off in 2 practices, that's just unacceptable. That's just not coming out ready to play. Whether that's on the coaches for maybe going too light on these guys, whether that's on the players for not taking the opponent seriously. It's just a general lack of poise and maturity that playoff teams have to have. And again, I've said this a million times. We're thinking about April. This was not a playoff performance. Sometimes you just have a night where you just got to gut out a win. You got to find a way to win a game ugly. Magic are usually pretty good at that. They couldn't find their way, and that's been an increasing problem for this team. They've dropped some games that they should have won. They should have beat Miami in Miami a couple weeks ago. They should have beat Atlanta in Atlanta last week. These are games the Magic should win and are good enough to win, but they're struggling to put these pieces together. And again, time is running out. The Magic have decisions to make. They know where they should be. They know what they're capable of, and they're not playing up to that capability. And that's only going to increase the pressure to make some decisions and make some tough calls to shape this roster into what it should be. Plain and simple. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them be still podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And of course, if you want to watch this podcast, you can find it on YouTube. Search for Locked On Magic. You can also check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub. You can find that at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub for exclusive articles as well as occasional playbook videos as well. So you get to get all that for one low price, and you get to support me, which is very, very cool because I appreciate all your support, and it allows me to cover the Magic at the level that I cover it as well. Don't forget to check out, now that you're on listening to us, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You can check that out. Hear from local hosts like me, as well as our national shows covering all the big stories in sports. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode, we'll recap the Magic's game against the Phoenix Suns. We'll do that Sunday night, Monday morning. So be sure to check that out. Hopefully it is not too bad with the way scoring has been going with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, but the schedule marches on. You got to play the teams in front of you. And as Memphis showed tonight, you always have a chance. We know the Magic are capable of beating Phoenix. We saw them almost do it a couple weeks ago. They got to get themselves ready, and they got to put themselves back in a position to win. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.